Whether you are hearing about the mark of the beast for the first time or you have heard about it for decades, there is something new to learn from this exposition. What about the harp? How can the dreaded mark of the beast and the instrument with the most beautiful, calming sound appear in the same sentence? A whirlwind of speculations accompanies the words mark of the beast, and little is known about the function of the harp, the most ancient of musical instruments. However, today is the day of the big reveal. The big reveal about the mark of the beast and the harp. You'll hear a wealth of amazing, but sometimes alarming information. Revelation chapter 13 is not a fairy tale, though it mentions a dragon, beasts, image of the beast, and mark of the beast. All these words refer to certain evil that will occur in the world in the last days, as prophesied by John the Revelator. Prior to the second advent of Jesus, terrible evil will erupt in the world. Certain forces or entities will exert a powerful influence over people everywhere on the face of the earth. They will control many or almost all the vital necessities for daily living. Now, because the peoples of the world will depend on them for food and other necessities, it will be easy for these forces to control the entire world. According to Revelation 13, the image of the beast who carries out the bidding of the beast will gain dominance over the affairs of the world. This entity or person, the image of the beast, will make laws that go against the laws of the Creator, and it will deceive many into accepting these laws. With power and authority, the image of the beast will compel people everywhere to disobey God's laws and obey its man-made laws. The deception will be so subtle that many will fall prey to it. The image of the beast will impose consequence on those who disobey his laws. Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 and 17 say, "He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." Those who comply with the rules of the beast will be distinguished by a mark that makes them eligible to receive services provided by the beast and his image. However, those who do God's commandments instead of obeying man-made rules will not receive any services. Imagine that you and your children have no food to eat. What would you do? People who want to have their needs supplied by the state will be required to obey the image of the beast. That is equal to worshiping the beast, the dragon, the devil himself. Of course, the mark of the beast is not a literal mark, but an agreement with the false laws, the man-made laws over God's laws. Imposter's law. Satan is the impostor. In the Garden of Eden, he used a serpent to cause Adam and Eve to disobey God. In the end time, he will use human agents. Satan will tempt each of us to worship him similarly to how he tempted Jesus to make bread out of stones and to worship him. And that happened just as Jesus was about to embark upon his earthly ministry. Matthew chapter 4, verses 8 and 9 say, "Again, the devil took him up on an exceedingly high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, All these things I will give you if you will fall down and worship me. Can you imagine that Satan wanted Jesus to worship him? Well, in a last attempt to keep the world, Satan will tempt all to fall down, give in, and worship him, but God will have already sealed his saints. In Revelation chapters 7 and 9, God's mark is called the seal of God, and God's seal is only received in the forehead, the seat of thinking and reasoning. The people who are sealed by God have obeyed his laws and have worshiped him with understanding and in spirit and in truth. And about the harp, where is the harp in this narrative? Notice that the mark of the beast is placed in the forehead or in the hand, but the seal of God is placed in the forehead only. Will God's people receive anything in their hand? Revelation chapter 15 tells us that once in heaven, the saints receive harps of God in their hand just before joining in the singing of the redemption song. Great and marvelous are your works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are your ways, O King of the saints. Victory will have been won over Satan's reign of tyranny. Earth will have been delivered from suffering and shame. So, what will the saints receive in their hand in heaven? Harps of God. To distinguish between false worship and true worship, one needs to study the Bible diligently. Notice what God says about his saints in Revelation 22, verse 14. Blessed are those who do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may enter through the gates into the city. Also, John 14:15 says, if you love me, keep my commandments. So obeying God's laws instead of the laws of the beast is crucial to receiving the seal of God in your forehead and the harp of God in your hand to celebrate victory over sin. Satan wanted Jesus to worship him, and he also wants the inhabitants of earth to worship him, but whom should we worship? And what commandment tells us who to worship? The first commandment says, you shall have no other gods before me. And the fourth commandment in Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 to 11 says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. Verse 11 brings us back to creation to identify the Creator, He whom we should worship. It says, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. In his last bid for worship and a desperate struggle to keep the earth within his claws, Satan will be vicious. Therefore, we must study, watch, pray, and do God's commandments so we will not be deceived by the enemy. Don't lose your harp